Hey Rose, it's Monday. So the other night, Rose and I were watching YouTube videos. Surprise, surprise. And there was this episode of Good Mythical Morning where Rhett and Link were talking about different kinds of parasites. And there was this one parasite that I had never heard of before. It's called a Cymathoa, and it's an isopod, same family as like roly-polies, except it lives in the water. And what else? Oh yeah, it's a thing of absolute horror. The Cymathoa enters the gills of a fish. It then latches onto the back of the fish's tongue and starts to consume the blood from the tongue. Over time, this causes the tongue to die and shrivel up / be eaten by the parasite. During this time, the Cymathoa takes the place of the tongue. And if that is not the weirdest thing you've ever heard, the fish actually learns to use the parasite as its own tongue. This thing swims into a fish, eats its tongue, becomes the tongue. Oh, no, 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 no. Why would that exist? Okay, that's not what this video is about though. The point is, I learned about this parasite watching a YouTube video. A few YouTube videos later, in our subscription feed, a Mental Floss video pops up titled 14 Facts About Parasites. And I think to myself, that's weird because Rhett and Link were just talking about parasites. And sure enough, in this Mental Floss video, they talk about Cymathoa, the fish tongue parasite. I was like, man, that is so weird. I just learned about that. Those videos were posted the same day, so it's very unlikely that both Mental Floss and Rhett and Link knew that they were both making those videos. So anyway, like an hour later, it was time for bed, and I wanted to pop on a Netflix documentary to fall asleep to. So I randomly find this documentary called Nature's Weirdest Events. And I'm not even kidding, the show starts off and is like, nature's full of all kinds of weird things, like this fish tongue parasite. And I'm just like, what the heck is going on? Why can't I get away from this nasty freaking parasite? I thought it was so weird that I had never heard of this thing before, and then I hear about it 3 times within an hour. So, after a long night of fish tongue parasite nightmares, I decided to do a little research in the morning about that phenomenon when you hear about something and then you keep hearing about it over the next few days. It turns out it's called the Baader-Meinhof Phenomenon, and most people experience it every once in a while. Anytime you or someone is like, man, that's weird, I just learned about that, the Baader-Meinhof Phenomenon is in effect. It seems like a crazy coincidence, but really it's just a side effect of how our brains work. Our brains are pattern recognizing machines. It's basically how we learn anything, but it can give us an unrealistic bias for information. When you hear something unfamiliar like a new name or concept, your brain registers it as new information. With technology like television and the internet, the amount of information that we encounter on any given day is so high that it shouldn't be a surprise that we would encounter the same information multiple times in a relatively short period. When this happens, your brain notices that pattern and promotes the importance of the information. Hell, if it keeps coming up, it must be important, right? At least that's how our brains work. By the way, it's not known exactly where the name comes from, but Baader-Meinhof was a German terrorist group in the 70s, and it's likely that someone heard about this terrorist group and then kept hearing about the terrorist group over the next few days, calling this phenomenon after the information that they kept hearing about. And the name just kinda stuck. Maybe you've heard about the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon before, in the last few days even, or maybe you're hearing about it for the first time now, but you'll hear about it again within the next few days. Either way, I could be creating the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon for you right now about the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon, which is super meta. But remember, as much of an unlikely coincidence as this may seem, it's simply the fault of an information bias within your brain. So, don't trust your brain too much, and Rose, we will see you on Wednesday.